It's not quite live. It takes a while. Now we're live.
Good morning and welcome to our weekly Aldershot Labour Councillors surgery. I'm Keith Dibble, Councillor for Northtown and leader of the Rushmore Labour Group. And we've been running this now for 3 or 4 weeks, which replaces our normal weekly advice surgeries that we hold in our various wards. So I'll start by welcoming any residents of Northtown and Aldershot to our online surgery and ask my colleagues to introduce themselves. So if we start with Councillor Sophie Porter.
Hello, I'm Sophie Porter, Councillor for Aldershot Park Ward.
Councillor Alec Crawford.
Yeah, Alex Crawford, Councillor for Wellington Ward, Aldershot.
And this morning we're joined by some colleagues from Farnborough, and we'll be looking now this to become in future the Rushmore Labour Councillors weekly online surgery. So start with my colleague, Councillor Christine Guinness.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm Councillor Christine Guinness and I'm from Cherrywood Ward in Farnborough.
And her Cherrywood colleague, who's far too modest to put his visual on the screen, Councillor Ashley Halstead.
I'm Councillor Ashley Halstead and I represent Cherrywood Ward in Farnborough.
Thank you. And other colleagues will be joining us during the course of the call. So the first item really is to report some good news. As you recall from previous online surgeries and on social media, a lot of residents have been asking for the return of the brown bin green garden waste collection service, and various members of the council have lobbied the cabinet on behalf of their local residents. And the good news is that Rushmore and Serco have done a handshake on that, and this week the garden waste service will continue. Best to go online and check if you are a subscriber to that service to see what day the brown bin will be collected. So that's really good news. The disappointing news is at the moment, Hampshire County Council, along with all other county councils, have not yet agreed to reopen the household waste recycling centres, which we have our very own one here in Northtown in Ivy Road. This is despite pressure, cross-party pressure from Rushmore and other councils, but the county councils seem to be waiting for a lifting of certain restrictions from the government. But we will keep on putting pressure on, because we all know that regular users of Ivy Road will know that there is a very good system, and you could use, we believe, as do many people, that you could use the recycling centre without breaking any social distancing guidelines. So that's some good news and an update on the garden waste. So any questions on that from any members of the public? Okay, let's move on to care homes, a very important provider of services. And I'd like to ask Councillor Alec Crawford to update us on where we are with local care homes and the support they're receiving.
We have a member of the public joining. Sorry.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Keith. The situation became serious about 2 weeks ago, when suddenly it became apparent that there were a lot of deaths in care homes, which we weren't particularly being made aware of, because the statistics for care homes were about 10 days behind those of deaths in hospitals. But at that point, I sort of picked up the fact that there were a number of issues being raised, such as a shortage of personal protective equipment for the care staff, the shortage of staff, and so on. And so I put this question to the Rushmore Local Resilience Forum, which is in charge of coordinating the council's response to COVID-19. And they got an answer out of Hampshire County Council, more or less maintaining that things were pretty much under control, and that that they had few staff absences, and only about 10% of staff were absent, and On the other hand, they did acknowledge that there was a need for a lot of extra staff. So 75% of care homes are recruiting staff. And that one of the issues is that, and it was in the news this morning, that hospitals are able to discharge patients who still have COVID-19 back into care homes if they believe that their life is no longer in danger. And of course, this is a big concern. And then there's the whole issue of the anxiety amongst the staff who may be concerned about their members of family picking up COVID-19. So I wasn't too happy about the response from Hampshire, because it seemed to be saying everything's going okay, when actually we picked up locally from at least 3 care homes that things weren't going okay. And in terms of shortage of staffing and lack of personal protective equipment and so on. So what I've done this morning is I've compiled a list of the 24 care homes in Rushmore, Aldershot and Farnborough, and I'm proposing to phone them round and find out what their issues are, and then report that back through the Rushmore Local Resilience Forum through to Hampshire, because we need things sorted out locally as best we can, and we can only do that by getting the best information and feeding it back through. And obviously I've been asking my colleague councillors to let me have any intelligence they have about what they know is going on in care homes, and they've been feeding that through to me as well. So that's where we are on the care homes issue.
Any comment or questions from anyone on that? Thank you, Alex, first of all, but I know you've been doing an awful lot of work on this.
Do you have any requests from members of the public to send you information if they're aware of any issues that you should be aware of?
I did put out a report of this on Facebook, but it wasn't particularly clear that I was wanting feedback from members of the public. So I think that would be a good idea following this councillor's surgery, to put out an appeal to the public, either members of staff at care homes or family members of people who are care home residents, to let us know of any issues they're aware of, and then we will take them up through this report.
Okay. Any other colleagues got any comments on that? No? Okay, thank you very much, Alex. And obviously, Hash will promote that when we issue the video. The NHS, as we all know, is playing a critical role in crisis, and all of our staff, as all key workers, are real heroes of the country at the moment. And we recognise that every Thursday when we go out and clap for 5 minutes, but really our thoughts are with those key workers all the time. And one of our team, Councillor Sophie Porter, who represents Aldershot Park, is a nurse on the front line, or as Sophie would say, at the coalface. I think she's going to tell us a little bit while it's really important that we do stay home, protect the NHS and save lives. Sophie, you're going to tell us your personal experiences, and then I think we're going to see a video about yourself. Sophie, good morning to you.
Good morning. It's always very nice that people call us heroes, but we're just normal, ordinary people. And sometimes we have to do extraordinary things, but we're just normal human beings. One thing I really want to focus on is I've had a few reports, or I've identified or noticed on social media that there's been an increase in reporting of joggers and runners who aren't socially distancing themselves from pedestrians or from other walkers. Now, it's really, really important that we're getting that daily exercise, one for our physical health, but also for our mental health. But we've got to remember the key things in line with the government. We've got to stay 2 meters away, that we mustn't be using our car to drive to do our exercise or to take our dog for a walk, and also think about the journeys that we're going to be taking and the routes that we might be using, and to try and avoid narrow paths if possible. I know a couple of my residents have also reported that there's been an increase in traffic. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that over the last couple of days. And
well,
you know, and we are seeing the benefits of us from socially isolating. But it's too early to really become too relaxed about that. So it's still very, very important to follow the government guidelines and stick to to our daily exercise.
Colleagues, have you all noticed in your own individual wards or neighbourhoods more people out and about, and more people sort of ignoring or forgetting the guidelines? Councillor Crawford.
Yeah, sure. I have particularly noticed in the last 3 days the increase in traffic day on day. It's because we walk usually the same route along Church Lane East, and then down footpath to our allotment where we do our exercise, and then we walk back again. And it's been quite remarkable, the increase in the traffic over the last 3 days. So it's clear that people, in a sense, have taken their foot off the pedal in terms of increasing the traffic. And obviously, I mean, we came across a situation yesterday. We were walking on one side of the road. Across the road from us, there were 2 runners running in opposite direction who almost ran into each other because they weren't, looking out for anyone ahead, and it looked ridiculous.
Anyone else? Ashley or Christine? Farnborough, how's that working? I mean, you've got quite a high density housing development there. Are more people being seen out and about, do you think?
I wouldn't say more people that I'm seeing out walking, but certainly there's certainly more traffic, and I am noticing that people are starting to slip in their social distancing. I popped into a shop the other day and was in the queue and on the little cross like you're meant to be, and the person behind me, every time I moved cross to cross, was getting closer and closer to the point that I actually had to hold my basket behind me rather awkwardly to try and keep her from being virtually on top of me. So yeah, it is slipping. People aren't, so they just want to get in, get their stuff and get served.
There definitely has been a lot more people walking around. I mean, it's good to see people walking around and getting a daily exercise, but as long as people are keeping the minimum 2 meters, I mean, when I've been walking out, not everyone has been, which has made me feel uncomfortable, but thankfully a majority of people are still keeping it up. It's just the small minority that are letting themselves slip. Yeah,
I mean, I walk the dog. The high point of my day is an hour's walk every night, and everywhere's been fine. I think the most congested area appears to be the canal towpath, where you get a mixture of walkers, dog walkers, cyclists, and runners. So, in fact, we've been giving that a miss over the last couple of weeks because it was literally stop-start all the time. Last night, I did one of our favourite walks, which is over Redan Hill, round by the fort at the back of the football ground. And it's often a place where there are some, in the context of today's guidelines, 1 or 2 illegal gatherings. And for once, it wasn't me speaking to a group of people, it was someone else walking their dog. And there was a group of about 15, I'd say 16 to 20-year-olds getting out of cars in Windmill Road and walking across with crates of alcohol, and the guy in front of me with his rather fierce-looking dog said, "Are you something stupid?" And they said, "Oh, we're not all together, we're going to disperse." And they all did in different directions, but I'm sure by the time dusk had taken down, they'd have been back there. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you don't want to be phoning the police all the time, but there is a Hampshire Police webpage, there is a relatively straightforward way of reporting gather it or where you think people are breaking the guidelines. So if anyone contacts Gaylor or myself, we just put a note on there, and then it's down to the police. It's very difficult. I don't know if other colleagues have had constituents contact you to say the lady 2 doors down or the family 2 doors down are having visitors. You know, when I raised this with our PCSO, she sort of said, well, they shouldn't be doing that, but the only people they're putting at risk are themselves. So it's a very difficult one, because we don't want to become a country of snoopers, but we don't want to be a country where the virus continues and continues. So I don't know if any of my fellow councillors had comments from residents about their neighbours who are not following the guidelines.
Yes, lots.
yeah. And what do you do with that, Christine? Do you do anything, or it's very difficult, isn't it?
It is. I think generally I've got to the point now, unless it's a major party, which we have had, where I have said, no, you need to phone or go online and report it. If it's just, you know, small amounts of individuals in people's homes, to be honest, I've said, look, you're doing the right thing. You're self-isolating. You're making sure yourself and your family are staying safe. And said, really.
Oh, you've gone mute, Christine.
We lost your mic. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, as I said, you're going to have to let it go, because it's eating you up inside when you're receiving sort of constant messages from someone saying, you know, they've just had someone else go in there, they've just had someone else go in there, and it's like you're going to have to let it go for your own sanity. You know, just make sure you're safe, make sure your family are safe, and, you know, stop worrying about what other people are doing.
Yeah, sure. I've had this reports like this. What my advice is in 3 bits. If it's just a minor breach, you can report it through to the police on, is it 111, or send an email to the Rushmore Police email address. If it's a major thing, I've advised people to ring 999, because that is a criminal offence, and it needs to be dealt with in that kind of way. And it's then up to the police if they think, based on the report that's given, that it's worth attending to. But so there is a sort of 3-stage process of dealing with it. Either put up with it, or contact the police on the low-level response, or dial 999.
Yeah, I think the police are doing it. Sorry, Sophie, was that? Yeah.
I was going to say, would it be okay if we share the link and of where people can report? Because again, as everybody else, I've had many residents reporting, you know, large scale parties, but from their next door neighbours. So maybe if we can post the link, it might be easy for people to access.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's a really good idea.
Links up on our notes page. So our notes, there's some notes alongside this stream. The link to Hampshire Police possible breaches of coronavirus measures, a very descriptive web title is there.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, I'll have a look.
Okay, so going back to you, Sophie, Councillor Porter, you've in recent weeks had a very personal story to tell on being a nurse, having a family with or a partner with a medical condition, and yourself catching the virus, and that has made you a little bit of a star. We always see you as a star anyway, but a media personality over the last few days. So perhaps you want to tell us your last week, really, and how these things have unfolded. And did any one of your friends act as your agent by informing the various agencies?
I wouldn't say a friend, a colleague.
Well, he hasn't been paid his agency fee yet, anyway. Put it that way.
I started feeling poorly. NHS heroes returns to the front line just nearly 2 weeks ago now, and I fortunately through my local trust I was able to be swabbed, but I was confirmed that I had the virus, COVID virus, and
I
became very unwell. I also had an ear infection alongside of it as well, and I spent 9 days nearly in bed. It was, it is a real challenge. But through that, I ensured I had time to rest. But I was still getting reports from some of our local residents, as we were discussing about care homes, that people in some of our community settings were feeling that they didn't have adequate PPE, which is personal protective equipment. And I thought it was quite important, really, to lobby our MP just to find out what the government was doing, and if the government was fully aware that some of the work that they're doing with regards to personal protective equipment wasn't getting to some of those people at the front line that really need it. So I just sent that off, really, and then the BBC wanted to have a chat about it and to find out mainly about my personal experience and my human story about how some of the, I think mainly I have quite a few colleagues who are in the same situation, about how we have to move out of our households to protect our families. And I know, like many of my colleagues, it's not an option to not be working on the front line, because that's what we're trained to do, and it's very much our moral right. So yeah, there was a little clip on BBC News South today, which showed my human story.
Yeah, and I mean, one, I think it was you do an amazing job anyway. But secondly, I know we had a chat about it, and you made it very, very clear that this was not a political stunt to embarrass the MP or the government. It was seen through the eyes of a frontline nurse supporting her colleague, and not to make sort of easy political gain. And in fairness to the broadcast companies, I think they certainly did the video and the interviews through the eyes of an NHS nurse, not as a tub thumping politician. Hash, were you able to show the video?
So I showed the video without audio while Sophie was talking. So
excellent.
You gave a narration of the video, but I will put up a link so somebody who wants to see the full clip and listen to it can do so after this. It's really, really important. And also, Sophie, are you taking any bookings for the camper van? Because it looks very spacious and fresh flowers.
No, thank you. I like to practice social distancing. But no, it's as much as it's been, it has been a struggle. There are times where it's very, very peaceful, and I'm getting a lot of time to myself to have that downtime.
And what was the response you had from Leo Doherty, our local MP?
Leo was, he was very prompt with his response, and he was outlining some of the actions that the government is taking. But some of them, I don't want to be too critical, but they may have been slightly delayed, and some of them are in the pipeline. Whereas that's not important for the people who need that PPE at this moment in time. So there is a lot of work that's going on. Some of it just needs to happen now.
Okay. And what was the reaction from your colleagues in the hospital or in the NHS?
It's very much...
no need for false modesty.
I think people, people feel that they've been supported, and that there is a strong voice for them out there, that people are listening to what they're saying, and mainly people just wanted to come and have a chat with me when they saw me at work, just to talk about their experiences as well. So it's been good for opening conversations.
That's really good, and well done, and thank you. And please, all of us thank you and your colleagues for the amazing work they're doing.
Thank you.
Move on. Voluntary groups. Voluntary groups are playing a really important role in supporting our community, supporting the NHS. And locally, there are a number of groups that are working together. I was going to ask Councillor Austin, but I don't think she's with us this morning. So Councillor Crawford, Alex, would you like to give us an overview of where we are?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to update things in terms of how people can get in touch with voluntary groups if they need help. These are groups which will deliver shopping, collect prescriptions, and so on. And there's several ways of contacting the voluntary groups. The main one is the Coronavirus Hampshire Helpline. And I believe I've given this kind of information to our Hash, our technical support, which he'll be able to put online. But the number is 0333 370 4000, and that's open 7 days a week from 9 in the morning till 5 in the evening. In addition to that, there are two constituted local groups. There's the one in Farnborough called COVID-19 Farnborough, and they can be contacted through the link that Hash has. There's the ARC, Aldershot Response to Coronavirus. Again, they can be contacted Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the number is 01252 214 022. In addition to that, we have the Vine Centre, which is for people who are vulnerable or isolated. They can get various services from the Vine Centre. And finally, there are two things. There's food banks every day, every Tuesday and Thursday at the Princess Hall in Aldershot, and that's for anyone who's unable to pay for food. And there's also at Christchurch and Cove Road, Farnborough, every Wednesday, 12 till 2:30. And then also in Farnborough, the larder at the Church of Good Shepherd. I think Christine may have details of that, but the information I have is that they deliver Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays after 4 o'clock. And finally, there is a dedicated line for the Nepalese community if they want support, and that number is 01252 894 280. And that's an update on the support from voluntary groups and also for people who need help from the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Any other comments on that or experiences? Christine or Ashley, any feedback from Farnborough on how those voluntary groups are working?
Well, certainly from our side, it's working really well at the moment. The COVID-19 Cherrywood, we're getting lots of things out to residents. I'm getting regular messages from some lovely ladies that are on the team, Nicola and Margaret, that if they have any residents with queries that can't be done through the COVID-19, they're phoning me or messaging me, talking me through what the problem is, so I can then contact the resident and help them. And yeah, so far that's working really well, that side. The Good Shepherd, the larder food bank, is really incredibly busy at the moment. Thankfully, people that aren't in trouble with this are helping in checking their cupboards and dropping off donations or buying extra food when they're doing their weekly shopping. They have a tub at the side door so that residents can put their donations into the tub rather than going into the church, so you can do your self-isolate distancing. And yeah, that the donations coming through are matching with what's going out at the moment, so that's really good.
Excellent. Anyone else want to comment on that? I mean, just as in Northtown. Sorry, Alex, come back. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to comment about one of the issues that I raised about these local community groups is their funding. And Rushmore got to £10,000 from the government to fund local community groups. And the way local community groups can get that funding is they can apply through Rushmore Voluntary Services. So it seems to me that at the moment, I got the impression they were having to rely on public donations. But if they apply through Rushmore Voluntary Services, they can get grants of £500 towards their needs. And I've asked the council about the future for this, because this is going to go on for, let's say, 9 months or a year, and these community groups are going to be needed throughout that time. And the council realises that they're going to have to fund these community groups going forward. So they're looking into having a budget for that in the future.
I can just add to that, actually, Alex. So as a volunteer for the ARC, the Aldershot Response to Coronavirus, there have been some changes for people who are volunteering, and we now have to apply to the RVS and become volunteers through the RVS so that they can apply for some of this funding.
Okay, makes sense.
Can I just butt in very quickly? We've had a question from Esther, a member of the public, Esther, who wants to know if someone wants to become a volunteer, who do they get in touch with, or what number can they call?
Yeah, sure. There are several routes, but the number to call locally would be if you go onto the Rushmore Voluntary Services website, which you can find by searching on Google. They can put you in touch. There's a form to fill in there, and they can then put you in touch with your most appropriate local group. That's probably the simplest way to go about it.
I've got the email the website address here. If you want me to read it out.
Yes, please.
It's www.rvs.org.uk.
And Hash will, our producer, will display that on the on the broadcast. And so just give a welcome to Councillor Nadia Martin, Deputy Leader of the Labour Group, Wellington Councillor, who has had the joys, I think, of a new laptop this morning, or iPad. Is that right?
Yeah. A different one. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So, what checks are made on any volunteers? Because general members of the public have been fantastic, their response. But if you suddenly say, "Well, yeah, I'm going to volunteer to be to do shopping or collect prescriptions," are there any checks made on the individual? Or do you have to go through that a checking process? Councillor Crawford.
Yes, certainly. I can say at the Vine Centre, all the volunteers who want to interface with the public, obviously people can volunteer by helping in the distribution centre and that kind of thing. But if they want to go out and be dealing with the public, they need to be what's called DBS checked. And so that's an official check where the Vine Centre will pay for the check so that the person is then qualified and meets the standards needed to go and interact with the public in a safe way. And I'm not sure about whether Rushmore Voluntary Services has the same requirement for the local community volunteer.
Okay. Any other points? Councillor Martin.
Yeah. So I am also a volunteer on ARC, and they have asked for a DBS check. So if anyone has a DBS check, they ask you to register. You input in the number.
And what's a DBS check for those of us that don't know?
It's a check. It's a check that you haven't got a criminal record in any kind of way that would debar you from that. So for example, you haven't been guilty of any domestic violence or abuse or anything like that, so that you're seen to be safe to interact with the relevant group of people. And you get different DBS checks for different services, whether it's children or vulnerable adults. And so on.
I mean, that's really good, isn't it? Because sadly, whilst crises like this bring the very best out of 99% of society, there are one or two people that try and exploit these situations, as we've seen that from various scams. And so it's really encouraging, I think, and comforting that there are those checks taking place, because potentially strangers could be going into houses, couldn't they? And so that's really good to know. Let's move on to council services. I think, and never one too often to praise the corporate body of the council, but I think they've done some pretty, maintaining lots of important services really well. And on Thursday of this week, all elected members of the council were invited to attend an online briefing, very similar to the one we've got here today. And we were given an update on how those services are performing. So I'm going to ask Councillor Martin, Nadia, to give us some feedback on council services, and then allow other colleagues to come in with any comments. So Nadia.
So the majority of council services are still operating as normal. Staff are working from home, so if anybody has any queries or wants to report a missing bin or needs to discuss council tax payments, any other issues, then they can call the customer services, report anything online, or use the Love Rushmore app. And help for businesses and individuals is available still, so anyone can get in touch.
Fantastic.
Councillor Crawford.
Yeah, can I just say, with respect to for businesses, I raised this issue during the briefing meeting that we had, and there is a specific page on the Rushmore Borough Council website that sets out the whole range of different business support there is. It can be quite confusing, but Rushmore has made it as simple as possible, so that's very good. The other special aspect that I would mention of support for individuals is the fact that obviously people need to be paying their council tax, and there's obviously several thousand people who are on council tax support. And for those people, if anyone's in difficulties with their council tax meeting the bill, they can contact Rushmore Borough Council, and they will be supportive in perhaps deferring payments a bit in order that people can find the means to do it. For those on council tax support, the government has given the council the money in order to make a donation, if you like, of £150 towards everyone who is having to claim council tax benefit, so that their contribution to the council tax is reduced by £150, which is something, at least at this time.
Thank you, Alex. Good to see Councillor Grattan joined us as our third Cherrywood Ward member. Good morning, Clive.
Morning there, Keith. Had a bit of time, but it kept throwing it back out at me.
Well, you're mastering new technology, so yeah. I can only say from anyone in Northtown, whether that be businesses or individuals, if they've gone to the council, gone to Rushmore, they all appear to have been sympathetically treated and had an outcome that they're all happy with. And I know one or two of us were concerned. I think we as a group were concerned when the original press release was made, that it appeared it was going to be a bit tougher than that. But in fact, they've actually, I think, been very good, and that's a credit to the individual staff. So has anyone had experiences from constituents or residents on if they've had to question or ask for a payment plan? Anything from Clive, Christine or Ashley?
I haven't personally. I don't know about Christine.
No, I haven't actually. I mean, we had lots of cases that needed help with their council tax sorting it out going back a few months ago. But actually, since the COVID-19 has happened, no, I've not had anyone come to me about their council tax.
That's good to hear. And businesses as well. I mean, there were three, particularly in North Lane, small retailers or hairdressing salons that haven't been able to operate, or cafes, and all three of them now have got their grant, and it's actually made the difference between survival or not, and or getting into debt. So that's really good. And again with Vivid, I think I've had a couple of Vivid tenants come. and concerned about paying the rent, and they've been all signed up to payment plans, which is really good. So that's good to hear. Anyone else got any comments on that?
Yeah, sure.
Councillor Crawford.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that obviously the Rushmore Citizens Advice works closely with the council. In fact, the Farnborough is actually based in the council offices, and the Citizens Advice is well geared up to handling the great upsurge there's been in inquiries, for example, finance, about universal credit and that kind of thing. And all of their volunteers are working from home, and they've got a very good system. So anyone who has queries about finance can be directed to Rushmore Citizens Advice, either in Aldershot or in Farnborough.
And to go on from that, Keith, Pebble itself is still running their Wednesday Stills Cafe Money Advice system, so, and that's still printed up on our door at the Prospect Centre, so they can still get in touch with people who need any help whatsoever. Excellent, excellent. So, I mean, just going through council services, so the bin collection is now fortnightly, and this coming week will be, is it recycling or is it household?
It's blue bin and brown bin this week.
Yeah, blue and brown. So that's good. The customer service line at the council is obviously operating both electronically and by telephone. I understand housing options are all working from home, so anyone with housing queries will get a call or an email answered. Prince's Hall is still shut, as are sporting facilities, and I think we got told yesterday that the celebration of the E-Day on the 8th of May will now be online rather than events in the town centre. There's been a lot of frustration from the local gyms we have, and a couple of our local privately owned gyms are encouraging their members to write to their MP to lobby for a lifting of the restrictions. So if anyone's been asked to do that, I think that I mean, health-wise, Sophie, that would be a good thing, but I'm not sure how on earth you could manage social distancing. What, any thoughts on that?
No, I've been thinking about it this morning after hearing that people are going to be writing to the MP about lobbying gyms to reopen. I'm not too sure how they would manage it. I think there'd have to be sort of a real big thought process into the number of people that would be let in, and obviously you'd have to be very fastidious with your cleaning. So I'm not too sure how they would do it. So yeah, it's something that there probably is a solution some way. But I know locally we've got lots of residents who use the gym as a way to tackle their mental health, their mental health, and unfortunately not being able to attend a gym has been very difficult for them. So it's just making sure you use the best of that, the time you're able to go out for your exercise, and maybe looking at trying other ways of exercising, such as running, walking. Yeah.
Hash.
I was just going to say that it might be something that we start to give people support in gyms, because Aldershot Garrison Gym have been really good at starting to Zoom their classes. So their fitness instructors at Garrison Gym are now delivering Zoom classes that members of the gym can subscribe to, and they've started to look at charging a service for this, which is the normal gym membership has been suspended, but the classes are being streamed for a service that is starting at $9.99 per month. So maybe other local gyms can look into this. I don't know if they need some tech support to be able to do it, but that might be an option, at least in part.
Sounds a great idea. Any other? The crematorium. I had to attend a service there for my dear colleague Frank Rust on Tuesday, and it was a very intimate service. But it was amazing how private but special it felt. A chapel that probably holds 300 people. All the chairs have been removed except 10. They were spread out to respect the social distancing, and it was a very emotional service, and the staff were absolutely amazing. Both the funeral director, the crematorium staff, it just went amazingly well, and I've only heard good things there. Rushmore have always have been keeping open their cemeteries, which some local authorities have been closing, but Rushmore, certainly the Redan Road one, seems to be open every day. I often walk the dog through there, and so that's that. And I'm sure the ones in Farnborough have also stayed open. What's quite interesting, because I posted that Sue and I had attended Frank's cremation and service, I had a surprising number of people challenging why we had gone, why they had allowed so many people, and almost in ignorance, but understandably asking, well, did the council break the rules for one of its own? And the answer was no, they didn't. There are only 7 of us there, and what is very clear. And then I actually sent the to those that come to the raised issues. They weren't complaining, but just raised issues. And some of them have been excluded from uncles and aunts services or funerals. And I cut and pasted the page from the Rushmore website, and actually Rushmore allow up to 18 attendees in the chapel for a cremation. But some authorities, it's only 4. And of course, lots of cemeteries are privately owned. And for example, the military cemetery seems to have very tight rules. And I think someone was saying they're only allowed 4 members of the family to attend the funeral. So that is down to the individual organisation that own that. And I'm pleased to say that everyone, once I'd gone back to them, were very thankful and understood the situation. But you can understand it when people see, well, there's a councillor attending a councillor's funeral. So I bet they just opened, tore up the rules on that day. But everyone was very respectful. So that's council services. Alex, you wanted to talk about the incredible work, and I know we slightly pulled a leg about the Vine, but they are providing an amazing service to the local community. So do you want to talk through what they've been up to for the past 4 weeks?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say that they do provide figures both on a weekly basis and on a running total basis. And I thought it was quite impressive when they produced the running total for the first 4 weeks of the services that they provided. And they've provided over 2,600 services of different sort to different clients and so on. And most of them, 1,100 of them, were home cooked meals that are delivered on a daily basis. They've also done 521 care packages. So that's packages of foods and other essentials which are going out to individuals. They've done, for large families, they've done 92 big packages of food deliveries in the last 4 weeks. They also do regular lunches for the staff at the Cambridge practice at the Aldershot Centre for Health. So in the last 4 weeks, they've provided 180 lunches for the staff as part of their saying thank you to NHS staff. I don't think they could do it any more than that, because that's still already quite a big commitment. But as well as providing food and care packages, they also provide support in terms of counselling. So they've handled nearly 500 support calls in the last 4 weeks, including about 70 of what's called intense support, where that's people have needed at least half an hour of interaction in order to address their issues. And just two other things that they've been doing is they've been organising a weekly art sort of competition, if you like, not competition, opportunity, and they've sent out 21 people packages of art materials to engage in that. And lastly, if anyone's got pets and they're short of money to buy pet food, they've delivered 21 packages of pet food in the past 4 weeks. So that's a quick run through what the Vine Centre does, and it's going very well. But they see that this kind of need, because of the indications that this social distancing, particularly for vulnerable and people, is going to have to continue for 9 months or a year, that this COVID-19 project of theirs will be going on for the next 9 months or a year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. That's very, very good to hear. And how are they funded? Is it by the charitable donations, or do they get grants from local authorities, or?
Yeah, sure. It's a mixture of funding. So they do have a Just Giving page where members of the public, and the latest thing is that they're getting members of the public. The next target is to reach £1,500. But they do have put in a lot of applications to charities that are specially targeting local COVID-19 projects. And so that's where they're getting the majority of funding from that. They've also had support from Rushmore Borough Council, because Rushmore has appreciated that the Vine Centre was up and running and active in the COVID-19 area early on. And so they've been able to get support from that. Every time a new COVID project comes out, where there's funding attached to it, the Vine Centre will see how it fits with their services and put in a funding application. So and I have to say that because of the professional way they put in their funding applications, they get a good response from the big charities and the major companies that are doing funding, including banks and food retailers and that kind of thing. And they've had great contacts from all the local supermarkets who have given them lots of food in order that they can cook all these meals and provide all these care packages out into the community.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Any further questions on the Vine? And I must say they have a really good, they use social media very effectively to keep broadcasting and promoting their services. So that's excellent. Any other questions in yet, Hash? Or
no other questions yet.
Okay, we're getting near to the end of the hour, and the view was we should try and end on a cheerful note. So I'll go to our producer, Hash, and ask what's our big finale? Do we have one?
I think there's been a submission from Halle who would like to talk about things to lighten the mood slightly. Is that right?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to say a little bit about theatre. So if you like theatre and you're missing it, don't worry. A lot is happening online, and lots of them are actually free. So the National Theatre at Home, they started the screening 12 nights. They started from Thursday, 23rd of April at 7 p.m. Is on YouTube, is free, and you can watch it. Is available for a week. So all you need to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel. And you can find further information on their website, www.nationaltheatre.org.uk NT at home. So, Hash, you're going to put these links, hopefully.
Oh, yes, of course I am. Yeah,
perfect, yes. Last week, Andrew Lloyd Webber's YouTube channel streamed The Phantom of Opera, Hopefully you watch that. This week, the sequel of it been available on his YouTube channel. Is Love Never Dies. It will be started streaming from Friday, yesterday at 7 p.m. It says it's available for 48 hours, but last week when I went to watch the Phantom of Opera at 8 o'clock on Saturday, it wasn't there. So if you want to watch it, go to the YouTube, and the shows must go on is available. Love Never Dies is available today. So hopefully you can watch that. The Together group, all the web stage is an online event. It happened actually on last Thursday. It was 12 hours of lots of performance and theatre, comedy, drag and music. They're all completely free. It happens last week. They usually have something every week, so keep an eye on that website, www.theatretogether.co.uk. They have something weekly. Usually on Thursday they have a few hours of free streaming. Last but not least is the Theatre Cafes Live a Lifetime. They have got a series featuring the West End stars. They're performing live from their own home, and they're performing each day at 4:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Now, it is actually trying to provide entertainment for people who are self-isolating, as well as accepting donations, so providing financial support for the performer. It's on www.theatrecafe.co.uk. So hopefully you've got some shows to watch this week.
Excellent. That's really good. I mean, that's I mean, we all need cheering up with some entertainment, and that's an excellent idea. I'd like to mention that Hampshire Library Services do an amazing job for children's storytelling. Every week they issue a video of a children's story, and I think it's they get thousands of views. Hash.
I was going to say the children's stories are fantastic. You should listen to them. They get thousands of views, as you said. They also do this other thing where they're getting members of staff to do 3-word reviews of books. Now, I think that's fantastic. It's great, but they're missing a trick. They should let members of the public do their own 3-word reviews of books, because I think you'd get some really entertaining results. Obviously, you'd have to filter them a little bit, just in case.
Yeah, I'm going to say,
enters. But yeah, I think it would be great.
Well, I'm just saying,
farm. Yeah, lovely animal story. I don't know. So
I'm reading lots of books at the moment, and I can this one. It's the wrong way around. That's the trouble with the mirror image. It's
the horse.
Tom Brady, the BBC ITN's political reporter. It's a Sunday Times bestseller, Secret Service. If you like Bodyguard or Line of Duty, it's well worth reading. I've got it there. Happy to pass it on.
Well worth reading. That's your 3-word review. That's good.
And a surprise ending. There we are. So, anyone got any other points before we wrap up? I think it's been, I'd like to think, a very informative hour.
Sorry.
Councillor Porter.
Yeah, I just have.
You're requesting your video again, are you?
No, I've just been by one of our residents who runs the Aldershot and Fleet Masters Rugby League, and he is looking for people to join in with joining in their step count. And what they're doing is they're having a competition with Medway Dragons Masters team to see which teams can get the most steps in. So when you're doing your daily walks, if you want to register and help them, you can register the number of steps you do to help us Aldershot Fleet Masters beat the Medway Dragons. Again, Ash, if I'll give you the link to post it.
If you give me the link, I'll post it up as well. I'll share whatever you want, as long as it's legal. It's good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, he sent me a note asking for me to join in. I thought you meant the Masters, but that's fine. So, anyone got any other points at this stage? Okay. Well, I'd like to thank all of my colleagues. The Labour councillors from Aldershot and Farnborough for joining in, and for the members of the public for asking us questions. And please ask online if you'd like any issues or services focused on for next week. And thank you, Hash, our excellent producer, for the technical and entertaining and support all round. Support all round.
Right. Don't thank me. I've done nothing for you. It's fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Thank you very much. We're going off.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Have a good day, everyone.